Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. I'm Alec Aberna. That's Matt Morrison. That's Mike Wolfgang. We're back in person once more. And, guys, we got a good show going on. College Football Prediction Day. Starting things off, Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
we got a good one.
Potentially best game of the season. Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals. 6-1, 7-0. And I mean, really, Green Bay Packers, I think you kind of delete that one from their season. That was a major fluke on their part, and it doesn't really seem like it's standing up. I mean, they lose 38-3. That's not the same Packers team we've seen in the last 6 games. But Cardinals, man, they're dangerous too. This should be a fun one here tonight.
Oh,
it should be.
Go on, Matt.
You got Kyler Murray, you have Aaron Rodgers. That should say enough right there by putting those two names in the same football game. And, I mean, I've been talking about this receiver core all year long. Christian Kirk, D-Hop, and then you have Rondale Moore, who has this exploded this year as a rookie. It's unbelievable. And I even like the running back room. You know, Edmonds and James Conner. I like it.
Yeah.
I like this team, man.
And Matt, everybody usually complains about Thursday Night Football. There's never any good matchups. Well, not only is this one of the best matchups, like you said, of the year, potentially is the best matchup. And, you have two NFC's top teams going at it tonight on Thursday Night Football. And like you said, the quarterback matchup, the skill player matchup.
Conference championship preview here.
Yeah, skill player matchup. You got defense. I mean, they just said J.J. Watt's out for the year, though. So that's hurt for
that's probably the big loss. And who's the other guy on their defensive line?
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones, I think he's been dealing with some injuries too, so that could be the one weakness we see in the Cardinals tonight is the defensive line struggle a little bit without JJ and, injuries to Jones as well. So it could be a big night for the running backs, I got a feeling.
It could be.
I think it might be a running back type of night.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, the Cardinals can still kill you on the outside. They got loaded weapons, so they can go either way. And the Packers, I mean, I think Devontae Adams is out tonight, right? COVID list.
Yes.
So that's a big loss for them. So like you said, they're probably.
He is expected to play as of an hour ago.
Oh, well, maybe he had some negative testing. So good then.
Which is weird because 2 hours ago NFL says he's out of Thursday night, and then an hour ago he's expected to play. So
I think they said Lazard might have been out too, but that could be wrong.
Devontae Adams won't play for the Packers.
D-Hop's gonna play.
Yeah.
Oh well. Either way, we'll see.
We'll see. Hopefully the Packers aren't wearing those god-awful uniforms from last week.
Oh, you didn't like the throwback?
No!
See, I don't like the same color on color.
Yeah.
I don't like when it's...
It looks like they really just copied the Browns brown ones.
Yeah, that's what I said. It looks like the Browns.
Like and the helmets are kind of weird with nothing on them.
Yeah.
I don't like color on color, but that's...
Yeah, where were the old yellow and blues with the khaki pants?
Oh, man.
Those were better, I think.
Those were better. They were better.
They were okay.
How
about that? What's worst uniform you can think of?
Like
throwback edition. Steelers Bumblebee might be up there.
They're sweet. I like those. I like those.
I don't like the Bears throwback with that helmet. It's the helmet for me.
Yeah, I like the throwback, the block numbers Steelers ones. Those ones were cool back from the 70s and stuff.
Do you guys like the Browns anniversary jerseys?
Those are okay.
Yeah, I like those ones.
Yeah.
The ones they put out this year?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Not those brown ones.
Oh, okay.
Like the brown numbers, that one in orange.
Yeah, the ones with the numbers on the helmet. Yeah.
I love those ones. I think those are sick. I'm mad I got a Browns jersey last year, and then they come out with new ones. I'm like, well, these ones are better. Darn it.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
Yeah, but obviously back to this game. Who do you think goes off the most in this one?
Mike?
I gotta say maybe Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I think he's surprised a lot of people, and they go big.
I definitely think, both with his legs in the passing game. I'm going to go Kyler as well, but you can look at any guys. Like you said, it's probably going to be a run-heavy game, potentially, so you probably point towards either running backs like Aaron Jones for the Packers. Maybe you could say for him, or for the Packers, probably lean towards Aaron.
Yeah, they also got A.J. Dillon in the backfield. He's had a few good games. He could be the sneaky guy that just kind of pops out of nowhere, especially with... their number one wide receiver out, and also Valdez Scantling. I don't think they're going to renew his contract as well. So that came out today. So perhaps a little bit behind the scenes going on there. Yeah. Packers just might not be, mentally sound enough to take this one. But I mean, they've been 5-0 in the last 5. That's the most important
thing to be.
Or they've been 6-0 in the last 6. Yeah.
They have to be mentally sound, fundamentally sound. But I've been big on guys like Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins all year long. Obviously, this Packers defense is going to target those guys more. I say Rondale Moore goes off. potentially.
And there's a lot of guys in this
and
of
game. Course, Kyler Murray too. And,
right.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of guys.
I would love to see a big game out of him. You got to keep in mind out potentially 2 touchdowns for James Conner inside the red zone. He's a big back, and I know Packers are getting better defensively, but I don't know if they have the line to put together defensively to stop a power run attack, especially when they're going to be so focused on Kyler Murray going in and out of the pocket all night long. I think it could open up some big run lanes.
Like you said with James Conner, I mean, he seems to be, at least so far, their red zone back. Just like with the Browns, I mean, it tends to be Kareem Hunt when they're down in the red zone. So yeah, I mean, he can be a guy that can go off in this game. And he's had a good year. He's had a bounce back year, and he's had some big touchdowns early.
Yes.
So he could be a guy to watch out for.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, how about we go ahead and make a pick here? I'm going to take the Cardinals. I just think they got more. I think the injuries building up a little bit for the Packers. They've been hot their last 6 games. I think they dropped this one here, go 6-2. I think it's close though, but I got the Cardinals coming out.
I got to take the Cardinals as well.
I got Cardinals in a close one. I'm just, like I said, I'm concerned about some of the Packers guys and their skill that I don't know if they're playing yet. So I'm going to go Cardinals.
Well, we go unanimous across the board. We all went unanimous with the Saints earlier in the week. We all got it right. Saints won 13-10. None of us were really that close on our predictions, though. We all predicted the winner with the Saints to score 20. So, but with us going into predictions, let's flip it back to last week. Matt, finally, you took home the victory. Best week out of anyone. You still weren't good at college football. You were 4-4, but neither were Mike and I. You and I were both just 5-3 there, and we struggled both in the NFL. Matt, you did great though in the NFL, 10-3 in that. You come out on top, 14-7. Mike and I tied up here, 13-8. You and I were pretty much the same picks across the board for a lot of those. So I mean, the only ones that we were different on was 49ers, Colts, and Raiders, Eagles. So that's where our two flipped, and then Matt took the Titans to win, the Falcons, the Bengals, and the Raiders. So great job on that.
You know, at least in college we both got winning records because it's hard to get a winning record in college. It's so
that's the one I worry about because I consider myself to be the college football guy a little bit more than NFL. So as long as I keep the winning record there, I feel good. I mean, the Purdue getting taken down by Wisconsin, Oklahoma State did not keep their winning ways going. You picked Iowa State in that one. Great job with that.
I picked Pitt.
You picked Pitt. Frankly, I think we all probably should have. I'm the only one that took Ole Miss, though, so I'll give you credit.
I don't know why I took Clemson. I just thought they'd have a bounce back, but I don't know why I trusted their offense.
Yeah,
their offense stinks.
Yeah, they do pretty much stink, but there was something, right? You kind of felt maybe they can finally do something. I mean, it's still Dabo Sweeney. They got tons of guys.
I just sensed a Pitt letdown coming. That's why I picked Clemson. By the way, I still think it's going to come. I'm not trying to put a damper on what they're doing. They're having a good season, but it's Pitt, and they have letdowns. It could come this week against Miami.
It could come.
But
potentially. Well, I guess we'll find out here. Let's go in World Series talk. I took the Braves in 5. I'm still holding up, though. Astros win the game last night, 7-2. Freed up there on the mound, got fried by this lineup. The bats were about as ice cold as the temperatures here in Ohio. Nothing going on for Atlanta last night. But on the flip side, we gave Atlanta all the credit in Game 1. Now I think we got to do the same thing for the Astros. They had a fantastic day. 2 for 5 for Altuve. He got 2 runs in. Brantley goes 2 for 4. I mean, they got a lot of solid hits and a lot of runs from everybody. Everybody produced in this game. It was a fantastic job. And obviously, your kitty up on the mound, 5 innings pitched, just allows 6 hits and 7 strikeouts. And just kind of as we talked with the bullpen yesterday, they came in and they provided great relief besides Phil Maton. But, 5 strikeouts off the bullpen and just 1 hit allowed in those final 4 innings. Great job by the Houston bullpen.
Yes, and I think it was good for the Braves to split in Houston. Now you're going back to Atlanta for 3 games now?
Yeah, 3-game stretch at home. So they got a chance to win at home within the next 3. So.
Yeah.
And Matt, this is kind of a flip of the script from Game 1. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
Braves jump out early in Game 1, Astros jump out early in Game 2.
Yep.
Both losing teams score 2 runs, and like you said, Alec, with the Braves pitching, they didn't get it done early. I mean, Max Fried, that's not what he is though, giving up that many runs. He's probably one of the best pitchers, and he probably is now without more.
He's young.
But yeah, they didn't get hits when they were supposed to, and the Astros did, and that's the difference in this game.
Yeah, I mean the Braves bullpen didn't play as well as it did in the first game. Matt and I were talking on the show yesterday when you weren't here that bullpen seemed to answer all the questions we had. The Braves answered every question. It seems those questions are now unanswered once again. They were perfect in that first game. All right, this seems like the Braves we thought was going to come out. And this now looks like the Braves that were 500 in the middle of the season.
Well, you see, they left out some of their guys. Will Smith, because, of course, it wasn't a saving situation. but no Matzik and no Minter. Drew Smiley's solid. I think he's had a great postseason, but Chavez has been shaky, and so has so is Wright. But
the rest of the bench, the bullpen though, didn't give up a hit besides Smiley, who gave up 2. So
and Drew Smiley, they might have to save him a little bit because he might be a guy that's gonna have to start because he's Morton out. So he's normally started, but earlier in the year he was okay, but he wasn't what they thought he was when they first got him. But like you said, it's gonna be a battle of the bullpens, and I think the Braves bullpen is still good. Matt, like we were talking about the playoffs earlier, you were kind of concerned about it. The last couple games, especially in that Dodgers series in the first game of this series, they showed the ability to get some guys out and get it done. So, it's just one game. It's an important one. At least they split, like you said. They're going home.
They're going back home.
But
I think that's...
Well, they got a travel day today, so they'll be back in action tomorrow to start out Friday's show. That's what we'll go into. But I guess here comes the question I got for you guys. Do you think the Astros take Game 1 on the road, as the Braves did, to stun the Astros at home in that Game 1? Do you think the Braves can bounce back, or the Astros can win 2 straight, steal 1 at home?
I think it's
steal 1 on the road. I think they kind of have to if they want to get back to Game 6 and have a chance at their home stadium.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. They might take it, but this is Braves environment. They love the crowd. The crowd gets up going with them. They get them fired up, really. I think the crowd in Atlanta is a true factor. And Atlanta just seems different when they're at home. They seem more electrified.
You look at their home and away splits this season, 42-38 at home, 46-35 on the road. So I don't know how much you're really thinking into that one there. And obviously the Astros were 51-30 at home and 44-37 on the road. So the fact that the Braves steal 1 at home, I think, speaks values. And with the fact that the Braves seem more balanced in home and away splits, the Astros seem to favor home. I think that could be the one big difference there, and maybe allow the Braves to get a little bit of a jump here.
And I look for them to get it on a jump too. Like you come out of the gate in Game 3. They did it in Game 1. They had some home run. I think just 1. In the first inning, but possibly 2. And you look last night, Matt. Even though they lost, they were squaring some balls up and they were getting guys on, but it wasn't enough, obviously. So they're still making contact, and they're still getting guys on base, but it's just a matter of getting across. And, the pitching matchup, the Braves got Ian Anderson, and the Astros have Luis Garcia. So I like that matchup for the Braves.
Me too.
I like Ian Anderson. I like Garcia, too, for the Astros, but he's been somewhat shaky in the playoffs. So, it's with the pitching matchup and being home and squaring some balls up, I think the Braves can win Game 3.
I think they can.
I got a feeling they probably might, but that's going to end our segment here for World Series talk. We're going to mix it back into college football, and obviously everybody wants to talk about this one here. Mike, you didn't bring the flag.
I got my shirt on, though. I forgot it.
Well, Penn State comes into Columbus Saturday night, 7:30, to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. And what was looking like it was going to be a great game until Penn State took a stumble against Illinois. But, still a dangerous squad. And I think Matt and I, we talked about it yesterday on the podcast. Yeah. Without you, they were talking rankings. It was like, Ohio State, I think, is going to be favored by a lot in this one. And everyone's going to go, it's Ohio State by a big. I think Penn State still has a chance to come in there and make this one close and make it tight down the stretch. I think the one big side, though, is this playing in Columbus. Not too many times Ohio State gets a night game. They're getting a night game against Penn State at home. So I think it's a big chance for Columbus to go big, and they're going with the Scarlet out against Penn State. So crowd is going to be scarlet, blood red on Halloween, not Eve. So should at least be a fun environment at the very least. I think it's going to be great. We're not just going to miss it. Everybody watching is going to miss it because they're going to be checking us out tomorrow on Saturday night as we go up into East Cleveland, Cuyahoga Heights, hosting Valley Christian and the Andy Hake-led War Eagles as they try and take the win in round 1 of the playoffs on ysnlive.com at 7 o'clock. So make sure you tune in there and accidentally miss the Ohio State Penn State game. When Ohio State pulls away in the third quarter, I'll tune into you guys. There you go. No. Well, you can watch us for the first half an hour, flip back to Penn State, Ohio State, watch that till halftime, and then flip it back to us. Yep. There you go. That's what I plan on. You can check us out during the commercial breaks, or, flip it either way. Just have both games on. Just get 2 screens. It's super easy. You just plug your laptop into a TV, and you can have 2 going. It's super easy. Just do that. Get both games going on. Put a TV up in the press box. Right. And have to find a way to do that. But what are you guys' thoughts going into this game? Because obviously, I got Ohio State favored pretty big in this one.
Yeah.
I think Penn State has a chance, but as you're saying, it's that third quarter. Ohio State always seems to pull away that third, fourth quarter. And Ryan Day is obviously one of the best second-half coaches in college football, and he's starting to get something together in that second quarter, though.
Well, you know what, though? I mean, it's going to be interesting because not so much as it has been for Penn State in years past, Matt, and you know this too. They don't really struggle in the third quarter, but they kind of have this year. And like you said, that's typically when Ohio State tends to pull away. So that's the key to the game. It is key to most football games, but for this one in particular, because Penn State normally references themselves as being a second-half team. And we'll have to see how that works out.
I do think, though, the one big thing, Ohio State this year, while they've been great in the second half, in that third quarter specifically, I think more this season, you have to look at the second quarter. I mean, most of the times it's 14-7. That first quarter is a little shaky. But, I mean, you saw it last week against Indiana. I think they put up 31 or 38 in that second quarter, and they took off. It's that second quarter right now for Ohio State where I think they lie most dangerous. And if they can strike big in that second quarter, count Penn State out.
Well, and I think with Penn State, too, the key is to them, obviously on the road, to get something going early. I mean, we saw a couple years ago when Saquon brought that opening kickback. Do something. I'm not saying something like that, but let's go on.
I say you got to get your running backs going early. All three.
You have to stop Ohio State's running backs.
They have to start.
Force C.J. Stroud to be the guy to beat you because we don't know what he's like against. I believe so. We don't know what C.J. Stroud is going to be like against a top defense. This is still a Penn State defense that doesn't really allow over 20 points per game, and it's the number one offense in the country with Ohio State. So the real thing is defense has to step up, and Penn State's offense has to go point for point, and that's where I think they fall behind. This offense for Penn State has scored over 30 points just twice. This entire season, Villanova and Ball State, I believe, were the only two times you guys have scored over 40.
They have to make it 3 times this week.
Right, they're going to have to score over 30 points because you're not holding Ohio State down that low. And I can virtually guarantee Ohio State scoring over 30 points in this football game, just based on the fact that their offense has been lights out. I mean, the running backs are perfect. Their wide receiver core is perfect. The offensive line has been freaking phenomenal. Granted, they haven't faced a real test defensively, against a great defensive line, so we'll see how Penn State can hold up in that facet. But I know Penn State's been good and not great this year. I don't think their defense is the defense that has stopped Ohio State in the past. I think they're missing a few guys this year, and they need that, infusion of youth from this recruiting class coming in. And I just think that's why Penn State's going to fall behind. I don't think they have enough to stop and keep up.
And, with Penn State's defense, the one thing that they're probably better in this year and the years past is their corners.
Yeah.
Because their corners, I mean, you have Joey Porter and Brisker, and you have whatever.
Yeah,
but
I know who you're talking about.
Like I said, the key loss in that Illinois game was P.J. Mustafer, and that's the reason. That's the main reason. No excuses. They should have been able to stop the runs. It's all Illinois did, and they couldn't stop it at all. But your nose tackle, that's a cap in your defense, especially your defensive line. He's out for the rest of the year. So that's going
to be a hurt in this game with a run attack offense for Ohio State. I mean, get Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Master Teague, all the ball right up the middle. I mean, it could be runaway early time. And Travion Henderson hit big early in their game against Indiana, and he doesn't even have to touch the ball every drive, and he's the best back in the country. And I think he's starting to pull away as that best back. He leads the nation in yards per carry, and I think he's getting up there in touchdowns already, and despite the fact he has half as many carries as guys like Bijan Robinson from Texas.
Yeah.
This guy is the real deal. I mean, he's closing in on Ohio State records, and we're only halfway through the season. You got to look at Chris Olave. I think he's up to second or third now on Ohio State's all-time wide receiver touchdown mark. So, as you guys said, you have better corners this year. I don't think it's still enough to stop the number one wide receiver core with Ohio State. I mean, when you got Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and not to mention all the other guys they have in the reserves. You got Julian Fleming, who came out of Pennsylvania as the number one recruit last season. He hasn't played much. He's been sitting behind Olave. He'll get the start probably next season in that similar spot because he fits the same role as Olave does. But you also got guys like Stover, who's kind of been on and off. And I think the one kind of lone, quiet part of this offense that people aren't talking about, but they probably should be, Ruckert in the tight end room.
Yeah.
This tight end room is still as electric, and obviously Ruckert's made some big plays against Penn State. I think those linebackers are going to go try and make some big hits against him so he doesn't make those same big plays. But I just think Ohio State just feels too complete on offense, with the one question being the quarterback that has put up the best numbers in the country over these last 4 games. I just feel like too much is going right for Ohio State, and things seem to be sliding for Penn State. I think it's a good bounce-back game for Penn State, but I don't think it's one that they're going to be able to close in on.
And again, with the corners, I'm not saying all to stop them, but it makes you feel better. At least their corners are better than years past. Against, like you said, going up against a receiving core like that. And I'm not. I said this last week, even before the Illinois game ended. Obviously, you don't want to shift over. You could say Penn State might have did when they kind of looked over Illinois. But I was kind of thinking this when I was watching this game. If they want to beat Ohio State, it has to come down to offense. Because their defense has been good all year. It's top 5 all year.
But they can't rely on that the whole
That's
game
what I'm saying,
because they're going to get exhausted and fall behind, like what they did last week.
They got so tired defending that run because they couldn't stop it all day.
And
credit Illinois for running it, but the offense was hardly on the field.
Yeah.
So
that's the same thing they're going to face against Ohio State. It's going to be run the football, and as you're saying, the question is, can Penn State actually stop the run this week?
And I look for Penn State to get on these long drives, like they did coming out of the half against Wisconsin week 1. Run some tempo, but go on these long drives where you're getting up the field, but you're milking some time off. That's what you got to do. Control. You're not going to control the time of possession, but at least make it even. Because if it's lopsided like it was against Illinois last week, it's going to be a blowout because they're lucky they lost by 2 points against Illinois for the way they played on overall last week. So we'll see.
I think Penn State honestly has the chance to go up quickly in this game, trying to take the crowd out of it. Obviously, I don't think crowd's a big issue for Penn State since they play, where they do with the White House and stuff. I don't think it's going to be a crazy environment that they're going to be unprepared for because they play in this every week, especially up here in Big Ten country. I mean, they've had some massive stadiums they've gone into. But this is, on the other side of this is Ohio State's test now. They have a big stretch of games coming up. When you talk Penn State here, Michigan State, and Michigan here in the next 5 weeks. This is the grit and grind of Ohio State's schedule. They can't afford another slip up. Penn State slipped up, they're gone. They're out of college football playoff contention. Ohio State, it still went out for them. I don't think this is one of those seasons they go, oh, well, they can afford a loss. They can't. They burned their one loss that they're allowed to have. It's a run out time, and I'm wondering, is C.J. Stroud going to be able to handle that kind of pressure in a game like this with the scarlet out around him, 108,000 people screaming for Stroud? I want to know if he can handle the pressure because we haven't seen him in a moment like this. Playing at night in the horseshoe, he hasn't had to do it. Can he sit around all day and still play? Can Travion Henderson?
Yeah, and like you're saying, I'm not saying it can't happen with C.J. Stroud, but
right.
Between the quarterbacks, it comes down to that, like you're saying, because Sean Clifford's experience, he has confidence, he's been through this type of environment.
That's the one thing I think.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's going to be. Yeah, experience matters.
And Stroud, this is his first test because if they're going to be playing in the playoff, it's going to be the same situation.
Right, I'm feeling now that C.J. Stroud on that first drive, when he goes to throw the first timer, I think that's when Penn State's defense takes advantage. I think they get a pick six early in this game. I have a feeling Penn State goes up 14-0 in that first quarter, but I think it's that second quarter Ohio State comes storming back, and they probably tie the game going to halftime or they take a lead.
And like you're saying, they're going to have to get some points from the defense, too.
Right.
Because the offense has not been producing that much the last few weeks. So get some turnovers and get some, get a pick six here.
Yeah, you kind of saw when they played their best game against Iowa. The defense kind of was the big question mark in that game. If they played well, you guys probably would have won it. If they played a little bit better, if they got one more touchdown, one more stop, that's a game they win. And we're talking about Penn State completely differently right now, but we're not. So there's still those question marks on defense of can they hold back up. So this should be just a phenomenal game. I'm excited for it.
And I look for one more key I look for Penn State, and this was the issue in that second half in Iowa. With Clifford not in. It's like, they get pinned within the 15, and they don't get a first down, then they got to punt it, which they get a stop after they punt it, but then they get it right back inside the 15. Yeah. So don't get yourselves in these bad positions starting out. It's better with a guy like Clifford, and he's going to be more toward 100% in this game. He has another week to get healthy. So
what was his injury? I don't remember.
I thought it was back. I thought it was back, but I don't think it was.
They didn't really announce it.
Okay.
It might have been something late, but
I know James Franklin never tells anybody what's going on, so.
No.
Which okay, I kind of agree with that.
I understand the
strategy. It doesn't always work, but.
Well, plus, confidentiality. You're not always allowed to say what's going on if the student athlete doesn't want you to. But I think the one big key to this game is Sean Clifford. As you were just saying there, if he's coming back at 100% or near 100%, he's going to have to move out of the pocket. He's going to have to scramble out and test Ohio State's linebackers.
He couldn't do that at all last week.
Well, Haskell the Rascal Garrett's going to be coming for him. And you have to watch out for the young freshman, JTT. He has been off the charts already. He's getting some big plays into the backfield, and you got to watch out for the hitman Hickman. He's had a great season, leads the team in tackles, and he is getting some big tackles for losses, making some big shots. I honestly think Sean Clifford's going to get hit in this game at some point. He's going to go out again. He's just going to get taken down, a funky way, or just absolutely smacked in the backfield. Got to keep in mind, Jack's Warriors had a quiet season. He's a guy that can go off, and there's another guy on the defense line. I think it's James Harrison. He has been phenomenal, out of this world as well.
James Harrison on
I think there is one, yeah.
But never underestimate Seven Bates either. He can make. Yeah,
he's going to be a great corner here for Ohio State in this game, and he's going to have some. He's going to be tested in coverage, but we also have a young defensive back. I don't remember what his name is. Number 26, I believe it is. That he's going to get tested as well. He's basically our number one guy. He's got about as much hype as Denzel Ward did coming out of Ohio State. So it's going to be a big game for a lot of young guys for Ohio State. This is going to be their test on whether or not this team's legit going into Michigan State and Michigan in the next few weeks.
And one more thing, Matt. Like we saw in the Auburn game, we talked about this after that Auburn game. They got to be able to spread the ball around in the passing game to different guys. They got all their tight ends involved. They got Dotson, a touchdown. Saunders. They can't just focus on throwing it to Dotson. They got to get it all around. That's what this offense has to do. It has to be a team effort in this offense. Because like I was saying all year, and you proved me wrong in this, Alec. Their running backs on paper look strong, but they have not done it on the field so far. So they might have to rely on the passing game a little bit more because the offensive line struggled too.
Yeah, Alec, I think you were talking about Caden Saunders, 26.
Oh, defense, yeah. Oh, guys, watch out. Javonte, John Bett, Zach Harrison, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
on the defense, Tyreek Smith is a monster. Tyler Friday, I think he's been out all season, though. You just look at the defense line for Ohio State. I pulled up the roster here. Sure. Tyleek Williams is going to be great up the middle as well. This game is just, I think, a huge trap for Penn State. They can very easily get suffocated quickly into this game. If they can't get past that front line, that defensive line, if they can't get into the linebackers, it's going to be a game they're going to struggle. I think they're going to have to come out a lot of quick passes. Get the ball out of Clifford's hands early so he can find a rhythm, try and get something going, and take advantage of, frankly, some defensive backs that I think still have a lot of question marks. And some guys that can get beat deep. And with the speed that you guys do have at the wide receiver core, that could be the one spot Penn State can take advantage if they can, force those safeties to come in, defend the short pass, and then go deep. I mean, it's the simplest thing in football to, try and do. It's harder to get those safeties to actually break.
Because we know how much Sean Clifford loves throwing deep balls at Dodson.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
I think that's the one point. Mike, we need to see him scramble and take off. He didn't do that at all.
Well, and that's his game, too.
That is his game.
That's why he's been close against Ohio State a few times.
He had negative 28 yards rushing. Yeah. He needs to take off.
And that's his game. And they weren't able to help him for whatever reason with that, too. And they should have known he wasn't 100% healthy, and they did, but they couldn't put anything together.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and make predictions, get on to some other games here. I think everyone knows where we're going, but I'm taking Ohio State. I got them going big. As I kind of said, I like the offense. I don't think Penn State can keep up. And I got Ohio State going 42-21, so a little bit less than they've been scoring. I don't think they're hitting the 50 mark again. But I think the offense still is just too good right now, and I don't think Penn State's going to keep up. But I think they, take advantage early. They go up 14-0, then Ohio State's going to storm back and then take it.
Mike?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm taking my team. I'm not going to say
that. But I'm taking my team.
It's like you said, it's hard finding a score for this because they have to outscore Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part, is outscoring.
I kind of got to score.
Go ahead if you already have one.
I know, Alec, they haven't scored 30 points a lot during the season, but they're going to have to. I say like 31-25 or 31-25.
I can virtually guarantee Ohio State is not being held to 25 points. I think that's the one guarantee I can say out of that score is Ohio State is not being held under 30.
I'm going 35-31.
That's a little bit more respectable.
Okay.
But I just don't know if Penn State can score 35 points.
If they can get some turnovers out of the defense, like you said, and get some in the end zone,
defense has to be the one to score.
And the offense can get a couple across. Yeah. And the one thing I learned in these Ohio State
Briscoe's got to go off.
These games are normally weird because last year I thought Penn State was going to get blown out in game 2 after the Illinois letdown.
They've been close the past 4 or 5 years.
Indiana letdown, and they lost, but it wasn't. It looked like it was going to be a blowout earlier, but it wasn't. Yeah. And they've been losing the last couple of years. The ones were close, and last year wasn't as close. But
a couple of times they lost by 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, there was that big streak there, but I think the one thing you do look at, Penn State in the last decade, they've won just twice. And Both times they did it in or one of the times they did it in Columbus back in 2011 with the Luke Fickell year, and then 2016 and then obviously everybody remembers 24-21. But you look at these last few games. Last one 38-25 in Penn State, 28-17 in Columbus, 27-26 in Penn State, but 39-38. So there was that streak there. I don't think Penn State's been back to that level though in those last two. And I mean I think you hear it every time after the game. Your head coach, James Franklin, he's like, Ohio State is the level. Everyone's trying to catch up to them in the Big Ten. He's we're not elite until we beat Ohio State. He said that every time they've played and lost.
And Alec, I tell you guys this all the time. It's
true.
It's not because I'm not an Ohio State fan. It's just the fact that they are the standard of the Big Ten, and Penn State is not going to reach that
Alabama in the SEC
until they beat them. You got to beat them.
And I think it's still like Alabama and the SEC, despite the fact, they can go 2-3 losses. They're still the standard, even if they're having a down year like they might end up having this year. They might end up being a 2-loss team if they lose to Georgia, but Georgia could end up becoming that team.
Yeah, and the thing about being in the same conference is that you have to beat them.
Right.
And the season really does not matter unless you beat them.
This is what I think that needs to happen. Real quick, then we'll move on to this game, the next game. Brisker's got to go off.
Which you can't.
Everyone has to go off that.
Joey Porter Jr.'s got to be on his
and they've been doing it all year. I'm not concerned about them.
And then offense, Keandre Lambert-Smith has got to be a factor here because obviously Dotson and what's his name, Parker Washington, they're going to be limited because of those are the top two guys. And when Lambert isn't open, I say go after tight ends. Get Brenton Strange
all
going.
All 3 tight ends are productive.
And get what's his name, Theo Johnson. Get him going
and
too. Warren. You got to get those guys going because, look what Ohio State does, what they do with Ruckert. They find him beautifully. That's what Penn State has to do here. That's what they have to do.
Well, Ohio State sits at an 18.5-point favorite opening for this weekend, and we'll find out how that one ends up. This one could be a big trap game for Iowa Hawkeyes. Obviously, everyone knows they lost to Purdue. Wisconsin just blew out Purdue. Yeah. This one's in Wisconsin. The Hawkeyes, number 9 in the country, coming in. Can they get back to their winning ways, or they now drop 2 straight? What do you guys think?
What I'm shocked about is how Wisconsin's favorite, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
Only by 3 points.
It was like a 2.5-point favorite for Wisconsin, but the fact that Wisconsin sits at just over 500 at 4-3, they beat Purdue last week, and Purdue's really had the fluke game against Iowa being good, and in all facets of the game, they went back to being terrible as they lost 30-13 against Wisconsin, who threw the ball 8 times in that game and blew them out. Iowa's going to be in a tough challenge here. See if they can get back. I think the one bright side, Iowa has a strong defensive line, and that's going to stop the run game. They have great linebackers. They always do. That's going to be the keys to this game. And obviously, offensively, they have to find something. 7 points isn't going to get it done again. They have to go big.
Yep.
They have to hit 20, I think, to win this game.
Absolutely agree. I mean, Iowa, they're going to be coming off. They've been entangled. That's the word I'm going to use. They've been entangled with themselves. They were number 2. They were coming in, all right. We're number 2, and they had that fluke game, Purdue.
And now everyone's saying they are number 2.
Yeah. I don't think that happens again. I think they take it. I think Iowa comes back, bounces back. I say it's going to be a close game.
And you want to go ahead and give your prediction now?
I can give my prediction, sure.
Right. Go for it.
I say 20 to 13.
That's Backhouse 20s.
Yeah. I like my 20s.
I don't think any team you've predicted has actually scored 20 points. Yeah. So, Mike, what about you? Iowa, Wisconsin, you going to take the
upset here? This is going to be an ugly one because neither offense is really that impressing. I understand, I guess, why in Wisconsin's favor they're at home and like I said, the teams are kind of the same, even the records aren't. I'm going Wisconsin, and I'm going them 23 to 20. 23-point win.
Ooh, okay. I think that might be, if Wisconsin wins it, I think they're going to pull away quickly. I don't think, if this becomes a close game, I don't think it's one Wisconsin takes in. I just don't think Wisconsin is built to win close games, and I think Iowa is. I mean, we saw that against Penn State. They won close games. They're good down the stretch. You don't try and go up against Kirk Ferentz in the fourth quarter. He's just been in the game too long. He's one of those guys. Come down to end out a football game, you can rely on him to lead a football team, and I think that's why if this goes down close, it's Iowa's game to win. So, next game up here, both of our least favorite, or at least both of our least favorite teams.
Well,
that team up.
Second least.
I said that team up. I was going that one.
Oh, okay.
I got no beef with the Spartans.
Oh, okay. I thought you said both of the teams.
No, both of our least favorite teams.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Yeah.
There's your second. Yeah. You just hate Ohio State. But that team up north,
just like you hate
7-0 in East Lansing against the number 8 Michigan State Spartans, also 7-0. This I think has the building of potentially the best game of the Big Ten slate. I just think there's so much going on in this game between the two teams. Obviously, Mel Tucker in his second season now with Michigan State had the full off season, and it seems they're back to where they were with Mark D'Antonio a few years ago. When they were competing for the Big Ten title, and they won it in 2014, I think it was. So this is a great 2013. This is a great squad that is seemingly back to where they used to be, and I think this is a great chance right now for Michigan State.
I think so too.
I mean, looking at the matchup, especially ranking wise, this has to be the best game of the weekend.
I think it does, and I think it goes beyond the rankings in this one. I think it's just.
Well,
I think it's the fact that both teams are kind of in a similar place right now.
They are.
Jim Harbaugh he's on the hot seat, whether you want to say he's undefeated or not. This guy is constantly on the hot seat because he's in Michigan. Yeah. This is a big name school. They want to be great. They want to be Ohio State. They want to be Penn State. They want to beat those teams. They want to be what Alabama is. So I think Jim Harbaugh is on his final leg. I think he's been given every single opportunity, and he's pushing it all the way. And I think if Michigan doesn't win the Big Ten this year, I think Harbaugh's out.
This is his best chance.
That's a fair statement. That is a fair statement. They're talking about
as great as they've been.
They're talking about all the coaches on the hot seat in college football, and he's not on it.
I mean, Alec, me and Matt.
Michigan's a 4-point favorite in this one, by the way.
Me and Matt have been talking about especially all teams in the Big Ten. In the conference, it's Ohio State. Think about Michigan, not only conference, but just for the rivalry and pride. Beat Ohio State, and they have not done it. So look at their side. If they don't beat Ohio State, everything's a failure for them. Yeah. That's just the way they look.
They could be 11-0 and finish the season 11-1, and
that's what happens every time. And I think honestly, the fans are just tired of this. I think that's what's going to happen. Is they either want to be terrible or they want to beat Ohio State. That is the one thing right now. And this has been a fairly one-sided series when it comes to rivalries. 71 wins for Michigan, 37 for Michigan State. A current win streak, though, of win. Michigan State won this last year in Ann Arbor, despite, their terrible season. I mean, Michigan had a bad one, too. It was 27-24, but then the last 2 years prior to that, it was blowouts for Michigan. But, I mean, this one has probably been the best rivalry for Michigan in the last decade. It's been split pretty even.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, the last decade or so, Penn State-Ohio State's been a better rivalry because Ohio State beats them every year.
You go 6-4 right now, current standings. Michigan State holds the lead in the last decade.
And the games have been closer too. Ohio State always slaughters Michigan. It's not even close.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think this is one of those big toss-ups. I think honestly, as much as I think that team up north probably is the better team this year, I think Michigan State just they've got something.
They've got something. They've got something.
Mel Tucker's got something working right now. I'm liking the Spartans.
Yesterday we were talking about how they're an above-average team. This is the game where they go above average, above.
I think this is the game I think this is the game that tells us whether or not Harbaugh can actually be a guy that wins big games. Look at his record against top 10 teams; it's abysmal. He cannot win in big games, and it's on the road. Yep. You look at Harbaugh on the road against top teams. I don't know if he has more than 2 wins. So I think that's where you give the advantage to Michigan State. Harbaugh can't win when the cards are down.
And not only inability
late in games.
Not only the inability to beat their rival Ohio State, like you said, they can't really beat anybody that's ranked good. But there's just something I feel about this Michigan team that's different this year.
They have had something. When you look at their offense, the last 3 games have gone over 30 points. They did have the weird game, 2013 against Rutgers. I think that's kind of what everyone wants to point to. But you look at the rest of the season, it has been blowout after blowout after blowout for them. They nearly slipped up against Nebraska. That was their fluke game. They survived. But, I mean, you look at the season, who have they faced? Washington, well, they're not that great in the Pac-12 this year. Wisconsin, I mean, they're 4-3. They're okay. I guess they're a favorite against Iowa for some reason. But, I mean, I don't think Michigan's been tested. They haven't had to do anything. Any big game they've had has been, at home. Their biggest game, you could probably say, is Washington. And it was at home. It was in Ann Arbor. Northern Illinois, they were in Ann Arbor. Rutgers, in Ann Arbor. The only time they've gone on the road, Nebraska, Wisconsin. I don't think either one of those environments this season really are going to test any teams because the team across from them isn't good. You're looking at one of the worst quarterbacks in Big Ten this season with Graham Mertz for Wisconsin. And Nebraska is just as bad at that position with Adrian Martinez. Then obviously they kicked the crap out of Northwestern. I just don't see anything from Michigan that warrants, them to go big. And obviously, you could probably almost say the same thing about Michigan State, but at least they won against Indiana on the road in a close one. They're on the road against Rutgers. They're on the road in Miami, Florida. I think that's the one big thing you kind of look at. They go that far out of state and they still put in a dominant performance. I think that's the one thing that separates these two teams is Michigan State's traveled, and they've been phenomenal at home, and they haven't had too many home games. This crowd is ready. They've hosted Youngstown State, Nebraska, and Western Kentucky. This crowd is ready to erupt in East Lansing, and I think this is the game. The crowd takes it. This is the big noon kickoff game. This is one the Spartans are just dying for.
I think it's the one Michigan's dying for, too, because they need to get wins like this. Is like you were saying with Jim Harbaugh. It's been his Achilles heel is not being able to get big wins. And this one's on the road. This is going to be a good one if he can get this.
It would be. It would probably be potentially his best win ever.
Yeah.
So. It could be Michigan State. I mean, I really like what Mel Tucker. He's turned this program around. Kind of like what James Franklin did to Penn State. They had that bad, not so good year last year, but I mean.
They were really bad before that, though, I think.
They were. And then, what's his name? Dan Antonio stepped down and they bring in Mel Tucker.
Coming out of Colorado.
Yeah. I really think he's changed his program.
I mean, look, this guy's been coaching since the 90s, and he was a graduate assistant in 97 there, defensive backs coach for a while. So it's a great defense coach. He's been in the NFL level. He's been at Ohio State. He's been at LSU. He was with the Browns, the Jaguars, the Bears. He was with Alabama in 2015. Assistant head coach there. He was defense coordinator for Georgia. Took over his first head coaching job in Colorado. They stunk. But then he gets picked up here by Michigan State, bad in their first year, and everyone goes, oh, great, we're going to have a decade of down for the Spartans. Second year, he gets this massive jump back. Yeah. Let's go ahead and give predictions. Can Mel Tucker keep his ways going and continue the turnaround of the Spartans?
I say yes. I say 35-20. I say they kind of run away.
I don't know if it's going to be a runaway, but go ahead, Mike.
I mean, both teams, like you said, you ran through the schedules, they were the same. Yeah. Michigan's, they had some close games, the one with Nebraska, the one with Rutgers. And Michigan State had one, too, a couple weeks ago with Indiana. That was a close one I was talking to you guys about. But I think I like Michigan to finally get a big win.
Okay. Give us your score.
I've done it a few times going with them to get big wins. They haven't done it, but it's got to break through eventually. And it's got to break through for Jim Harbaugh eventually. So I'm going Michigan 34-28.
That could be a close one there. We're going to have to find out. A few games left on our slate here. We might go quickly on a few of them. How about this one? We'll go quick on Texas Longhorns at 4-3. They hit the road to take on the number 16 Baylor Bears. I just kind of had this one highlighted. I'm like, I like this Baylor defense. They're experienced. And obviously the offense for the Texas is so up and down.
Yeah,
I don't think there's enough there for Texas to continue on. But I think it's close. I don't think Baylor has the great offense that they've had before. So I got Baylor taking this one 32-24.
Mike?
I'm going Baylor as well. I don't think Texas.
I think Texas will figure out their stuff next year and come back better.
They got a young quarterback though, so
yeah, new head coach adjusting. So Keegan,
he's been great. He can win on the road though. So
33-27.
33-27. Okay, I like the score.
I gotta go Baylor. We'll go weird. 32-18.
That is weird.
Yeah.
All right, this one, the big rivalry of the South, Battle of the Georgia line. Number one Bulldogs, unranked 4-3 Florida Gators. You got to mention it at least. I don't think it's going to be one very close. I think the Dogs pull this one away. I got Georgia winning this 35-10.
Florida's really turned around. They started off all right. They had the close game against Alabama. Then they've just fallen off.
Yeah. Your score, Matt?
Georgia, close. We'll go like 38-18.
Okay. Similar to your last score. What about you, Mike? You taking the upset here for Florida?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
You were just sitting there so I'm
trying to think of the score. Because I like at least they're at home, but it's just not really going to matter against a team like this.
They're dominant.
I'm going Georgia 20. I'm going 29. A weird number. 29-14.
Well, you guys both have them scoring a lot more than I think they will. I just got 35-10. I just think this defense is just too dominant. I don't think Florida scores twice in this game. I think that's the one takeaway here is I don't think Florida can score. How about this one? Should be phenomenal and a big test for the Rebels on the road, taking on the Auburn Tigers. 10 versus 18, 6-1 versus 5-2. Why don't we stop here? I don't think Bo Nix can get it done. I don't think
he's inconsistent.
He's too inconsistent. And I think you just look at Ole Miss coming off that win last week when I was kind of counting them out a little bit. I still took them to win it, but I was like, I don't know if they're going to do it. They win by 14. It was a good game for them, but I just think there's still a little too many question marks for Auburn on the other end. I think I got to go Ole Miss in this football game. I'm going to take them 32-28. I think it's close. I think Auburn keeps up scoring. I think they get a defensive touchdown in this one, maybe a pick six off from Matt Corral. So I got Ole Miss, but I think it's going to be close.
I got to go Ole Miss as well. I say 35-24.
You know what? I like Auburn in this game.
Auburn?
Like you said, they're inconsistent, but
do you think it's the one they show consistency in?
I think so, because it's you kind of look at their schedule, it's up or down, and I think this could be a game where they could be up.
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, you saw at least how they played against Penn State, who still sits at number 20 in the rankings despite, the loss. I think you take that loss maybe with a little bit of a grain of salt because of the injuries, and I think both their losses came because of an injury to Sean Clifford. So Bo Nix played fine in that game. Their defense played great. I think that's the one part of Auburn you can look at is their defense isn't bad. The offense just struggles. So give your score here for Auburn so they take home the win.
30-23.
Fair enough. All right, two more games here on our college football slate, and I think some potential fun ones, despite the fact neither one of these two teams are ranked. It's a good Pac-12 battle. The UCLA Bruins, they nearly pull off the win against Oregon while they have the eggshell uniforms or the cookies and cream on. And then the Utah Utes, they're 4-3, but I've been liking them so far. They pick off the win against Arizona State, then they lose to Oregon State the next week, and they're one of those teams. They give me the similar vibe to Auburn. They're just up and down. But, you do look at, they took it to overtime against the number 120 ranked San Diego State back there September 18th. So they've had a few good games, and obviously the beginning of their season was a rough one. They had both BYU on the road and San Diego State on the road. They've played great when they're at home, and I think that's where you give them the edge in this game. You look at home so far, they beat Weber State, they were supposed to. They beat Washington State, they beat Arizona State. They're at home again. They haven't lost at home, they've lost on the road. That's why I have a feeling Utah could be a team that, kind of shocks UCLA a little bit. UCLA is, this is a battle for second place right now in the Pac-12. If Utah wins, they still have a chance at the Pac-12. If they lose, it kind of gets farther out. Arizona State can sit in first place. But keep in mind, Utah has the win over Arizona State. So we get down to it, Pac-12, on the line. This is a game that's, neck and neck. I think this one Utah potentially gets, the edge over and could go to the Pac-12 championship and take on potentially Oregon or Oregon State.
This race is, in both of these sides of this conference, it's more interesting than people have paid attention to.
I think it's because none of the teams are really in college football playoff contention, it feels like. But they're beating each other up.
But we like races.
Right. They're beating each other up, and I think they're all getting right down to the nitty-gritty of, we have 4 games left. It's go time.
Yeah, you got to get it done right now, and it starts right now for Utah. If they wanted to catch Arizona State, which, like you said, is still possible, it has to start with a game like this.
It does, and I like Utah in this football game. As I said, they haven't lost at home. I think it's going to be close. I obviously love Charbonnet and DTR for UCLA. I've been kind of riding them all season long. I think this is a good squad, but I don't think they have it this week. They lost to Oregon. I think they're coming off a letdown. I think they hold it close. I think Utah wins at 21-20, though.
I'm gonna go Utah as well. I'd say 20-17 by a field goal.
I was gonna go UCLA, but I'm gonna go Utah as well. It's like UCLA. They've had a great year, like you said, but they kind of have had an up and down year as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, I like Utah. This is a game that they have to win if they want to. Like I said, if they want to keep pace with
desperation mode. We talked it last week. Teams in desperation mode. They play good.
Seem to play good, and that's the case with some of these other games too. A lot of other teams are desperation mode, but I'm going Utah in this one. I hate making scores in college; it's hard.
It is. It's annoying.
I go 22-17.
22-17. So we're all going low scoring here. Mike, you kind of split the difference between Matt and I there. I went 21-20, he goes 20-17, you go 22-17.
Oh, I did, yeah.
You're right.
I wasn't looking
right
at
about there, so I guess I'm more split the difference.
I was trying to think of weird different scores.
Yeah, but I think I like to pick out one of these group of 5 games every week, and I think this is the best one, a team we haven't talked about yet, with the San Diego State Aztecs. They're 7-0, they're 21 in the rankings, they sit just behind your Penn State, Nittany Lions. So it's a team on the rise. Yep. They were good, I think it was 2-3 seasons ago, they were up there in the top 25. It's been a team that, they've always been sitting on the edge, and they have a great spot, but they got the Fresno State Bulldogs, who are 6-2, and I love the Bulldogs this season. They get the win over UCLA, they nearly pick off Oregon. They've had some good games. They've also had a lot of bad games, but I think there's been more good than bad so far for Fresno State this season. And I really like them coming to this game, but obviously San Diego State, they've been just on fire. They've been winning every game. It's not always pretty, but they were the team that beat Utah. Early in the season, they beat Utah in overtime, and we just talked about Utah on the other end of it. I think San Diego State sits in, a similar realm, and they've got an easy ride for the rest of the season. This could very well be an undefeated season for the Aztecs, but it starts here with a win against Fresno.
It sure does.
And, Fresno's been a tough team all year, like you said. I mean, they beat UCLA in the first couple weeks. That was a game people thought was kind of a fluke, but I didn't really consider that a fluke. This Fresno State team's normally pretty strong, and so is San Diego State. And I like you bringing this game into the show today because it's a good one to talk about. And like you said, Group of 5 is probably the best one of the weekend.
Yeah, we did a great job picking Houston ECU last week. That one went I think double or triple overtime, and Houston came out with the win. I was kind of expecting that should be a decent game at least. It goes one of the best Group of 5 games we've had all year. So I'm liking this one as well. It's a 1-point favorite for San Diego State in this game. So it is there. That's how close it is. So. Clearly, the experts don't know who to go here, so they're going to rely on us to be the experts this time.
We are the experts.
If you're a betting man, like I know you are, I wouldn't bet this one.
I wouldn't touch it. These close spreads, don't touch them.
No, I wouldn't touch this thing with a 9.5-foot pole. I do have San Diego State, though, covering that spread. I got them winning this one 29-24. I think it's close. I think it's ugly, but I think they win it.
I picked too many games on this Saturday slate that... ranked teams going on the road to beat another ranked team, but I like San Diego State in this one.
Oh, okay. It's at home, so.
Yeah, it's at home. I picked too many ranked teams to lose this weekend, so I got to go with somebody to win.
Yeah.
Pulling out all the stops, Mike.
27-20. I'm going to stay with 22. 27-22.
All right.
I got to go San Diego State 21-14.
Well, a lot of great picks here. We'll see the outcomes of those. Obviously, it should be a great Saturday, but an even better one here on ysnlive.com as we've got playoff games starting tomorrow night and Saturday. Keep in mind, there's also volleyball. They're in playoffs. Soccer's in playoffs. A lot of big YSN teams in the running right now, so make sure to tune into ysnlive.com all weekend. Lots of sports going on, and obviously Power Hour coming up next year in a few minutes on YSN. But, boys, before we get to that, Cavs are looking pretty good, Mike. What do you think? They pick up the win last night by 13. Sexton goes 26 points. I mean, they really held the Clippers quiet, and Clippers are 1-3. Cavs were 3-2. And I know it's still early, we don't want to overreact. Kind of as I think maybe a little bit last year, they were starting off good. But I think this is a good stretch for them. I mean, we talked, those first 20 games were rough, a lot of road tests. They've proven themselves in the road tests. I like the Cavs so far. I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team or not, but at least it's fun to watch the Cavs. Because you're not going to get blown out.
And I watched this game last night. I know the critics can say whatever they want. No Kawhi, no Serge Ibaka for the Clippers, so they lost some scoring. But it doesn't matter. You're playing NBA teams, and the way the NBA game is played nowadays, 79 points you give up. Yeah. The last couple of years, their defense has been terrible. Yeah. And the first 2 games of this season, it wasn't that good. So
they've turned it on defensively.
And their offense still has to get a little bit more up there if they want to beat some other good teams. Because, like I said, the scoring the way it is in the NBA nowadays, but. It's like, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself because I don't really remember doing it that much last year. I just started out 3-0. I might have got too excited, but it just feels a little different this year because it feels like a complete team. They have a backup point guard.
Have everything. They have everything they need. I really like Ricky Rubio. I've been talking high on him all year. I liked his passing ability, and Markkanen has been a great addition so far.
And you know what else, too, though? One more thing they can need if they want to, cement themselves as a playoff team. Because right now they're probably a contender for a playing spot. But if they want to get over that, go out and get some more shooting because Dylan Windler's been hurt all year. I saw some trade scenarios online yesterday. Go out and get a guy like KCP or go get a guy like Terrence Ross. Like get some shooting that can shoot some mid range and get some 3-point baskets too.
That'd be good.
I think the one side you have to be happy with, and I don't remember if it was set in our group chat or not, but it was Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. They ranked as like the number one duo in the NBA when in terms of I think opponent shooting percentage in the paint or with blocks or something. They've been dominant inside, and I think that's kind of one thing. I know we had some question marks on Markin starting at the 3. I've loved him at the 3 because I think it adds that size that Cleveland needs. And I think that's something they haven't had defensively was size. I mean, when you had a Coro there at the 3, he's 6'6". He's not a big guy. He's not, athletic in the terms of he's going to go up and, meet you at the rim. Markkanen can do that. He's a 7-footer. Then you get Mobley. He's a 7-footer. Then you got Jared Allen, 6'11". We have size inside now, and that's something the Cavs haven't had. I mean, this has been a guard-centered team for the last 3 years with Sexton, Garland, Kevin Porter Jr. They brought in guards, Jetty Osman. It didn't seem like they had an identity. They found an identity in going big. And going big is the answer for Cleveland. I think you almost saw it when LeBron was here. When they had bigger lineups in, they seemed to do better than when they were small ball. Small ball doesn't work for Cleveland. We don't have the guys to go small ball. We have great guys, but you have to have the absolute perfect lineup to go small. And that goes with guys like having Ja Morant and Damian Lillard. You have to have that level of guy to be able to carry you who can go inside against a 7-footer. I don't think Sexton is that kind of guy that wants to go inside against a 7-footer. I think he'd rather throw it to a 7-footer to go up against a 7-footer, I just think that's where Cleveland's at. They have an identity in going big. And keep in mind, Mobley can shoot it from outside a little bit. Markkanen's a great 3-point shooter if he can find his rhythm. Kevin Love off the bench has been fantastic. He's a great 3-point shooter, especially this season. He's really turned it on. He's a lot better than I think he's been in the past. And perhaps, he took some rehab time this past year. And he was on the Olympic team, got cut from that. I think he's played with a chip on his shoulder.
And you talk about the big shooting. Like
it's also a contract year.
Yeah. And Jared Allen has the ability to shoot some mid-range shots. And like you said, I was one of those people that this year thinking, maybe they do have too many bigs the way the game is run now. Yeah. But you know what? Let's stop worrying about trying to prepare for other teams. Teams have to prepare for our size because there's not any really teams in the league that start
3 7-footers
in their lineup, and they have the ability to bring. Kevin Love's not a huge guy, but he's another power forward that can bring off the bench and that can score. So, let's stop worrying about other teams preparing for other teams. Let other teams prepare for us for a change. Yeah. Because like I said, not many people can prepare for the bigs we have.
Yeah, well, they're going to have a tough test coming up. They got the Lakers tonight or tomorrow night. The Lakers lost, though, 123-115 to potentially the worst team in the league right now in the Thunder. And, Russ had a triple-double, but he still shot terribly in that game. And I think it's becoming a problem. He might be taking up too many shots. And we don't have time to go into it, but I think the Lakers might start 2-4 here. I think the Cavs can take this one. I think they just have the defense, and I think LeBron's going to have a fun night against his old squad, and he's probably going to go off for a decent bit. But I just like what the Cavs got right now. So
Me too.
And before we wrap the show up, Matt, NHL stuff, you want to give us something that came out recently? Yes. Unfortunate news.
Very unfortunate.
But, potential bright spots for changing in the NHL and around the world.
I'm going to get emotional here. No, I'm not going to cry. Kyle Beach reveals that he's the John Doe in the Blackhawks sexual assault investigation that happened during the 2010 run. He's, I have it right here. He's filed a lawsuit against the team back in May, and he finally came forward back in 2010 when they won the Cup that video coach Brad Aldrich sexually assaulted him. Upper management of the Blackhawks ignored his complaints until after the team won the Stanley Cup. First of all, this guy, he knew he was going to face adversity coming out like this.
Good job on him coming out with this information.
Entirely brave of doing this. And this needs to be said. This can't happen in professional sports.
It can't happen anywhere.
It can't happen anywhere. Yeah, it can't happen anywhere, but especially on a professional level, this is just horrible.
And if you guys want more information, go to NHL.com or any source. Just type in Kyle Beach. We're not going to have time to go into the full story and give us all our thoughts on this one, and probably shouldn't. It's a very emotional topic, very sensitive. So we're going to leave it at that. And you want more information, go on the internet, look into that story for yourself, and form your own opinion. But that's going to do it for the Casual Sports Podcast here today. Power Hour coming up next. I'm Alec. That's Mike. That's Matt. We'll see you next time.